Pop culture has trained us to view divorce as a high-stakes war. You hire an aggressive lawyer, march into court, and let a judge hammer out who gets what in a series of dramatic courtroom battles. The reality of the modern single-family court is entirely different. The system is severely overstretched. Couples are waiting anywhere from 4 to 6 months just to secure an initial hearing, and cases requiring full days of court time face constant postponements. If you try to bypass that backlog by simply filing paperwork to fight your ex-partner in court, you will hit a wall. A dedicated gatekeeping team will intercept and likely reject your application before a judge even looks at it. This training document for legal professionals outlines the structure of the single-family court, placing a major focus on this strict gatekeeping. The Children and Families Act of 2014 created a legal requirement for couples to attempt alternative dispute resolution, finding a way to settle out of court before they are allowed to litigate. You can no longer use the modern courtroom as a first resort. It is a highly restricted final option, protected by a mandatory legal gatekeeper. That gatekeeper comes in the form of the MEAM, or Mediation Information and Assessment Meeting. This is a compulsory assessment. You have to prove to the court that you attended one before a judge will allow your case to proceed. Judges enforce this requirement aggressively. If a couple manages to slip through and open a case, but if a judge believes a mediation exemption was incorrectly applied, they can stop active proceedings and order the parties to try mediation. Mediation centers on the practical logistics of splitting assets and arranging childcare. The mediator, an impartial negotiator, guides both parties toward a workable solution, ignoring past grievances. Though often qualified lawyers, they act strictly neutrally, outlining general principles but forbidden from providing specific legal advice. There are strict, evidence-backed exemptions to the MIAM requirement. The most crucial one protects victims of domestic abuse. If there is clear evidence, such as a police investigation or an existing protective injunction, the requirement to mediate is immediately waived. The court will bypass mediation for urgent cases, like when there is an immediate risk to the physical safety of the applicant or their children. The legal framework is designed to filter for safety first. For everyone else, it firmly redirects conflict away from a judge and into structured, peaceful negotiation. This breakdown of family practice funding options points to the financial reality of separation. Mediation is cheaper than a trial, but the average cost for successful mediation is still around £1,600, a major hurdle for many. In 2012, the Legal Aid, Sentencing, and Punishment of Offenders Act stripped public funding away from the vast majority of private family law cases, meaning people could no longer rely on the state to pay their litigation fees. The 2012 law cut legal aid for court battles over money, but kept it for mediation to incentivize out-of-court settlements. If individuals meet income limits, the legal aid agency fully covers their initial MIAM assessment and the mediation sessions. By removing funding for litigation and preserving it for mediation, the government effectively weaponized its own budget to make negotiation the most accessible path for the average person. The mediation mandate operates as a pressure valve for a stretched justice system. It filters out high-conflict litigation so the courts can actually function. Redirecting cases toward alternative dispute resolution targets the long-term success of the families themselves. When a couple works with a neutral third party to build an agreement voluntarily, they reach a resolution faster and with far less financial drain. More importantly, statistical data shows that couples who decide their own terms are much more likely to stick to them long-term compared to couples forced to obey an order imposed by a judge. This module on private law children focuses on disputes between separating parents because preserving parental cooperation is the primary goal of the system. The modern family justice system uses the gatekeeper of mediation to prioritize private settlement over judge-led litigation, ensuring the final arrangements are built by the parents themselves.